Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. I'm just waiting for a few more. I can see the number of participants we've got, so I'm just waiting for the number to go up a little bit. So you have joined the Milton Keynes College T-Levels webinar. Just bear with us while we let a few more people join us. And thank you for joining us as well, I should say. Hello everybody who's also just joined us. Just to let you know, we're just waiting for the numbers to go up a little bit. You know what it's like with Wi-Fi and all the rest of it. So just give a minute or so to let the numbers go up a little bit, so we've got everybody who wants to be here can join us. Okay, I think we're going to start. I'll talk slowly and let the numbers go up, but thank you to those of you who've joined us this evening and welcome. Yes, this is the Milton Keynes College T-Levels webinar. T-Levels are a new qualification, so there is quite a lot to get your head around, so we hope that this session is going to help you a little bit with that. My name is Rebecca Myrie. I'm part of the school's liaison team at Milton Keynes College. In a normal year, I'd be out there talking to students about their options after GCSEs, including T-Levels, but it's great that you've taken time to dial in and join us this evening. As I said, the aim of this session is to give you a chance to listen to an overview of the brand new T-Levels qualification, find out about our specific course offer, how to apply, and ask any questions you may have. We really hope that at the end of this session, you're going to have a better idea about what T-Levels are and if they're the right option for you. I'm now going to share our agenda and introduce you to our panel. The share screen bit. Okay, so welcome this evening. First of all, we've got Alex Warner, who's the principal of the Institute of Technology. Alex is going to be giving us an overview of T-Levels, the makeup of the courses, how employers are involved, how they differ from A-levels and apprenticeships, and Alex is then going to share more information on the T-Levels we'll be offering from September 2021. After that, my colleague Jackie Phillips from our careers team will go through the practical information such as entry requirements and how to apply for a T-Level. If you've got a question at any time, you'll see a chat function at the bottom of your screen. Just type in any questions you've got as and when they come up. We might deal with them as you're asking them. But then we'll definitely cover them all over the course of the session. So thank you very much. First of all, I'm going to hand over to Alex.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. So my name is Alex Warner. I'm the principal of South Central Institute of Technology. However, I'm also one of the executive directors at the Milton Keynes College Group. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Again, just to follow up on what Rebecca said, please do feel free to put any questions throughout the chat. We hope to try and make it as participative as we possibly can in this new way of working. So yeah, those questions will be really helpful to support you developing your wider knowledge. So a little bit of background then about T-Levels and where they've come from and where they are going. Now, particularly here, what I just wanted to share was T-Levels have been in the making for a while now. T-Levels are currently being delivered in some institutions already. They launched in September 2020, some institutions, and we're really delighted to be one of those early adopters of T-Levels themselves. Specifically though, what I wanted to really share with you here is that in terms of T-Levels, whilst they are new, they're only going to grow. There is cross-party agreement, not just to political parties, but specifically also those cross-departments as well. So just from this particular slide, you'll notice that the Department for Education are working really closely with the likes of, for example, the Institute for Apprenticeships. And the reason for that, and the reason to be excited about that is because it's a real signal towards new ways of technical education, supporting technical education, and making sure that there are the necessary synergies between different offers to support everyone on their personal career pathway. So then, what are T-levels? Essentially, they're an alternative pathway, an alternative to A-levels. So hence the T for technical and the A for the academic route. T-levels then are in very much the same way as you'd expect to have, for example, a traditional A-level. So it will be 2 years, 2 years of study. But specifically, it will have very close alignment to apprenticeships as well. And I'll draw some similarities and dissimilarities between the two. So, for example, the T-levels, it's classroom-based programs delivered over 2 years within a further education college. Now, 80%, roughly speaking, 4 days a week will be on site with us at the college, and then there'll be that 1 day a week, for example, on site in an employer's premises to really develop those skills and behaviours that are applicable to the workplace. Now, I describe this as almost like an inverse apprenticeship, and that actually an apprenticeship program is 80% on the job, and then that 20% sort of off the job, i.e. that 1 day a week on site with us in a college. Now, it doesn't have to specifically be 4 and 1 or 1 and 4 in the case of the apprenticeships. You can do your industry placement in other ways. So, for example, you can do specific blocks of learning. It doesn't have to be 1 day a week over the 2 years. But we'll talk about industry placement element of it a little bit further on in this presentation. The one point to really focus here on is that there is the parity between those level 3 A-level qualifications and those T-level qualifications that we will be offering. So just to pull out some of those, again, those synergies between apprenticeships and the T-levels then. So there is a central standard that works across both, and that standard has been developed by employers, really signalling the intent and that message that this is this particular offer and this particular pathway is to develop those knowledge, skills and behaviours that are going to help people to be successful in the workplace. So there are obviously those content and the technical knowledge aspects of it. There are the skills development and also the behaviours as well. So the development of those behaviours is through that broad programme where you will have lots of, for example, input from employers to support the development. We'll have, for example, real world projects provided by local employers, and really that industry element aspect is just to make sure that students are developing those skills, not just for the purpose of assessments within college, but they're able to apply those specific skills for a real world and in an applied workplace as well. So then, from a Milton Keynes College perspective, I said we are an early adopter of T-levels, and we're really keen to be able to offer them because we think this is part of greater emphasis in technical education, and we really see the value in the qualifications in terms of supporting our local labour market, and specifically for those young people who are on the call today, really about signalling those links for you to get into the workplace. So it will hopefully accelerate your transition from the school right into the workplace, and that technical education that you will undertake will really prepare you for that. So the top left then, so that's just really signalling that these have been designed by employers. Employer working groups similar to the apprenticeship standards have come together to help design the content for them. We really like the fact that the T-levels themselves don't just focus on sort of content knowledge. We know, for example, that one of the criticisms of our higher education sector is that, for example, degree qualifications, they help develop technical knowledge, but people don't necessarily leave higher education with the skills and the behaviours. So we're really happy that at this level 3 level, that people are going to get that real world exposure. They're going to have a real focus on skills and those qualities. Some of those things that employers tell us are really key to supporting your transition into the workplace. They are aligned and they're consistent with A-levels. We'll see a little bit later on about the currency of the T-level and how that stacks up if, for example, you did want to go into higher education at the end of it. And then the other one for me that I really wanted to focus on is about that alignment with apprenticeship standard. So those individuals who, for example, did a level 3 T-level, how that would then support you with that transition to a higher technical apprenticeship. Again, we'll have a look at some of those apprenticeship pathways a little bit later on and how the T-level will support applications to those as well. So a little bit of detail, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this is from an educator perspective, the structure of a T-level. So you'll see that there's those common core and those knowledge aspects of the qualification. Now that is consistent across all T-levels. There's the occupational specialism, obviously that's determined by the specific pathway that you're on. And again, just a real emphasis on those skills, attitudes and behaviours that are going to be fundamental to helping you secure employment and sort of progression pathway in that higher technical element as well. We focus on English, maths and digital then. So we talk about, again, we'll have entry requirements a little bit later on, but one of the things that on a very personal level I'll be able to share with you is that you never stop developing in terms of your functional use of English and maths. So exactly in the same way as we all do in the workplace, you'll continue to develop English and maths activities. If you don't have your GCSEs, then that is a part of the entry requirements for that, but we can provide those on the T-level for those progressing. And then finally, that work placement aspect. So it needs to be occupationally relevant. Here it's determined as 315 hours or 45 days. Again, just sort of a 7.5-hour day over 45 days. That is what we will support individuals. And the T-level itself will have a range of, for example, professional certifications, enrichment activities, and wider experiences for you to undertake whilst on the pathway. So then, let's shine the torch on the industry placement then. So you can see it's an extended industry placement. It's part-time. You can, for example, use your part-time work to be included within this. We obviously want people to have occupationally relevant experiences, but really that's a place for you to sort of develop those skills and again apply them in a practical context. So it's not just having the theoretical underpinning and assessments internally within the college, it's then being able to help you go out into the workplace, add value and really build that overall suite of sort of experiences that you have. So when you have that interview, whether it's for higher education or for employment, you can talk about how you've added value in the workplace. So it will help you showcase those in-demand skills. It will enable you to gain, for example, further references to support you and hopefully provide you with an opportunity to secure employment with particular individuals as well. We hope that you will be able to secure the placement with one employer. However, it can be made up of more than one. So, for example, 2 employers in order to help you achieve those 315 hours. So the employer involvement then. So I spoke about employers being involved in the design and development of qualifications, but we also are going to work really closely with employers in terms of not only the design, but also the hands-on sort of teaching and learning. So we have, we work with what we call dual professionals. So these are people who are occupationally competent, are working in industry, but will come and support some of those experiences to help support your development. We are co-creating, co-developing with employers, and then in time we'll be also co-delivering with employers, including both on-site knowledge, but also the off-site and industry placement element to the T-level as well.
Alex, I was just going to take this opportunity because we've got a couple of questions that have already come up about how employers are involved in the T-levels programme. And I just thought, before we go into the kind of specifics about the T-levels that we offer at the college, it might be a good time to answer those questions. So one question is around how would a student get a work placement as part of their T-levels course?
Yep. So if students have access to their own employers, so for example, through their own parents, for example, or carers, their network of contacts, then we can support the sort of the mapping and the sort of the internal processes that we need to secure that. However, I should also say that we are working with employers already. So, for example, last year, despite the pandemic setting in sort of in the March when it did, and the challenges that presented, all of our students were able to complete work experience. So that's over roughly 2,500 students who are able to secure work experience. So we do already have not only work experience contacts, but for example, apprenticeship employers as well. So if in answer to that question, if individuals have contacts already linked to their occupational specialism, they can use those. They obviously need to make us aware, and we can do the internal due diligence process. But similarly, we will support students with securing those placements as well. I probably will also just take the opportunity just to talk about placements and how they are happening right now, because obviously, if you can't see, I am in the comfort of my own home right now, but we are working with our employers to also support students with those digital placements. So just because individuals are working remotely doesn't mean that they can't add value to businesses, doesn't mean that they can't undertake some of those specific employer projects. I appreciate different occupations might have different approaches to that. So, for example, some of our construction pathways, you may not be able to, for example, do those remotely. However, we are working with employers currently to look at how we can support placements, industry placements in alternative ways in response to the pandemic. However, I remain very hopeful that in September 2021, we have some level of normality and we can go back to those sort of traditional placements in the workplace.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alex. There's then also another question. Obviously, when somebody applies for an apprenticeship, they get a chance they know what employer they are applying to for that apprenticeship. Would somebody doing a T-level get some kind of level of say in which employers? So they get a list that they can pick from to know what employer they're going to be doing their placement with?
I will say yes, but to some extent. So, I mean, if a student secures their own placement, absolutely, then obviously that is for them to determine. We will also support that sort of qualifying process. However, we also need to appreciate that whilst we have a number of students applying, we have a number of employers as well. So, for example, an employer may, for example, offer 2 or 3 placements, and we may have 10 people who are interested in joining. So we can't guarantee that everyone will get their sort of first choice, but what I can say is that we will make sure that everyone does get an employer who will support them on the journey.
That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on.
So this is just to have a closer look then at those pathways which we are going to offer. I said that there is policy alignment and there are going to be more T-levels becoming available through the coming years. Now, specifically those that we've got highlighted in the text in yellow are those pathways that we'll be offering from 2021. Specifically, those are the pathways that are available for 2021. So we're offering all of those pathways that we're able to. The numbers underneath specifically, so for example, if you read childcare and education, you've got 1,060,804. They are the occupations, they are the roles available within those disciplines and within those occupations. So that's really just signalling to people who are interested, those prospects or those things, those roles which are available, and you can see that those that are being offered are where we have the highest levels of need. we see that from this as well, 2022, for example, business administration will start. But then what I should say is that all of these on this slide will be coming available over the coming years. So if the pathway that you're particularly interested in isn't available right now, that doesn't mean we won't be doing further updates, for example, in 2021, where we'll be talking about what our offer is for September 2022. But now what we're going to do is have a closer look at those four in yellow. So then we have digital, we have construction, we have an education, and then we have a management and administration. So we specifically have four pathways. So under digital, there are two, under construction, there is one, and under education, there is a further one. So these specific numbers are what we've committed to having places available to. So this is what we will report back to the Department for Education. I shouldn't say we're not limited specifically to this number. These are sort of our targets. But if you are interested, it's great to have you on this webinar now, because we want people to be registering their interest now so that we can start to make sure, that we have all the necessary resources, for example, including those employer placements available for next September. So the digital routeway, for example, you can see there are places in design and development. If you wanted to know what that means, just because my own personal background is sort of software design and development. Data technician is about sort of information systems, data analyst. Construction, you can see the title, surveying, design and construction, the built environment. And that education pathways for early years education and childcare. So you can see then, as we will grow our provision through the years, we will have more pathways available under each of those. So for example, construction will have more pathways available from 2022, 2023. So then, what is the routeway? What is the T-level available? And what is the occupational specialism? So the occupational specialism specifically links to for example, job roles, and then you can see from that sort of that meta level, digital. Well, what does digital mean? So digital splits into three specific areas. We know, having worked, working in the local economy within Milton Keynes, we know that those best occupations available to people are in software design and development, and specifically data analyst or information systems business analyst. Hence the reason why we have wanted to develop in those occupational areas. So I'm now going to hand over to Jackie, who is going to walk and talk you through the entry requirements.
Okay, hi everyone, my name's Jackie Phillips and I'm one of the careers advisors in our careers team here at the college. So how to apply? There's no difference in applying for T-levels than there is for any of the courses that we're offering at college. So you just need to go onto the college website, and when you scroll down to find the particular T-level that you're interested in, you can just click on apply, which is circled in red on the screen. And then you would just fill out your details in the normal way. So the entry requirements. The entry requirements for T-levels, because they are the ones we're offering at the moment, are level 3 qualifications. So they're equivalent to A-levels, and the entry requirements reflect that. So we have the digital technologies. You need 5 GCSEs at grade 4 or above, including English language, maths and science, or you can have a relevant vocational qualification. It has to be passed at level 2 and with merit or higher profile. One of the relevant BTECs might be in digital information technology. If you have a BTEC, you will need GCSE English language and maths at 4 or above alongside that level 2 BTEC. For construction, it's 5 GCSEs at grade 4 or above, including English language, maths and science. You don't need any work experience for the construction. It might be possible to look at an alternative, but it's difficult to tell at this stage whether it would be relevant enough. So we're just saying 5 GCSEs at 4 or above. And the education and childcare pathway is the same, 5 GCSEs at grade 4 or above, and they must include English language, maths and a science subject. Okay. I think somebody was asking about, or one of the questions was, are they accepted at university? As you can see from this slide, they do attract UCAS points, and they're in line with the A levels, so distinction star being the highest and giving you 168 points as you would get from 3 A levels, with the lowest pass being 72 points, and that would just be a pass. So a pass with a D or E, that depends on the scores in the modules that you complete, give you the various UCAS points. So yes, it will be accepted by universities.
That's great. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Alex. So that's it from us doing our presentation. So now we're just going to kind of go through the questions. Hopefully, as we said, we've answered some as we've been going along, but we'll just pick up the rest of them. So a couple of people have asked about what happens if you didn't get a chance to complete all the hours that you need for your course during your time with us. What happens? Would you fail your course, or you know, how would that be handled by us?
Is that specifically referencing the industry placements?
Yes, exactly, the placement.
So we as a provider will be equally committed to supporting you to complete those hours. So it is a fundamental requirement. So you can't complete the program in the same way, for example, if you didn't complete your exam in an A level, you can't complete the qualification in order to achieve that. So it is a large undertaking. It does need to be sort of sequenced over the full duration of the 2 years, but we have a number of ways of doing that. One, which is sort of that 1 day a week model, but we also have plans where some of our employers can, for example, offer sort of summer internship type programs where you might be able to bank, for example, through a 6-week period, I don't know, 20 or 30 days. So we have plan A and obviously plan B and plan C. So, but just to rest assured that we are equally committed to supporting you to achieve all of those hours.
Fantastic, thank you, Alex. So we've talked about how T-levels are on a par with A-levels. Does that mean that you can study more than 1 T-level?
No, so I would say, so when we say A levels, that's plural, so it's not the A level singular, so it's the equivalent to 3 A levels. It is a full-time program, and hopefully what you've established, and I guess from my answer from the previous question, it is that it's a large undertaking. So it's a full-time program, it's the equivalent to 3 A levels. You don't do multiple T levels, you do 1 in main route way, and that's the equivalent to those 3. Don't underestimate the fact that it's only 1 T level. It's not the same as doing 1 A level subjects. It's significant more commitment, i.e. it's 3 times the commitment of 1 A level subject. And as per my answer to the earlier question, a significant industry placement does need to be undertaken.
Great, thank you very much. So we've also got a few people who have got kind of application questions. So Jackie, this might be more for you. So is there a closing date when people need to apply by? Obviously, Year 11 students won't have their grades yet. So what would you recommend there?
Again, there will be, we don't have closing dates as such. Applications are open now for 2021. I would think that possibly interviews would be taking place sometime February-ish. That's when, if you have predicted grades, I don't know what's going to happen this year. Normally we would work on predicted grades. So once you're aware roughly of what you're going to get in the future, you can apply for T-levels if your predicted grades are 4s and above at GCSE. There won't be a closing date. We will continue to take applications until the course is full. Then we might say, if it's sort of oversubscribed, we might have a waiting list, or say that, you know, there might not be any places, but generally we just see how things go. There's not a specific closing date as such.
I'd probably, just to reaffirm that, kind of get your applications in early if you are interested, because we are having to work with our employers, for example, in terms of those resource requirements. So to avoid disappointment, if you are interested, get your application in early. You can keep your options open. So I always recommend that young people, you know, explore local colleges or sixth form providers, but just make sure that you have your, you know, you share with us your intentions, and then we will, as a college, make sure we have all those resource requirements in place. So those who have applied early and that we have offered a place to, we can stick to our commitment.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Alex. Thanks, Jackie. So if somebody thinks that they might be on the borderline with their grades, and obviously there's loads of uncertainty at the moment with what happen with GCSE grades and stuff next year, would you recommend that people apply for one of our normal study programs as well as a T-level, or what do we think?
So I would recommend that individuals make an application on what they think that they can achieve, but also what their aspirational achievements are. So if you are on the borderline, do make sure that you're making a level 3 application. We will obviously want to support anyone who's coming to us as a college, but I should also say that when interviewing for a specific course, we will meet with students, we'll talk about their certain requirements, how we can support them, and we'll also explore with them at that point in time other options for them. So there's no harm in making, as I said, you know, multiple applications in those areas that you're available, that you're interested in. I should also say though, as a college, and I'll talk specifically about what we did this summer, which is we offered what was called an offer guarantee. So those students who came to us with, well, at the point in time, they didn't specifically have some of their grades because their grades were being readjusted. We made an offer guarantee, and that guarantee was that irrespective of prior experience, we would offer what we guaranteed what we would offer at interview. So we don't know what next summer holds for exams. I and we all hope that they are able to go ahead as planned, but make the application, come and have an interview with us, and we will discuss with you a range of options, not only sort of T-level, but look at other vocational courses, or for example, you know, if someone's borderline, some insurance choices as well.
So if a student wants to do a T-level with us but didn't make the grade first of all, could they study one of our level 2 courses and move on to a T-level?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reforms in technical education are also going to mean that we have internal sort of reforms to our level 2 programs as well. So for those who aren't familiar, level 2 are, for example, 1 year, for want of better words, could be better described as sort of stepping stone programs. So we'll help individuals develop the skills to be able to go on to apprenticeships, level 3 apprenticeships, go into level 3 study programs, or for example, going on to a T-level as well. So we would, if for example, someone didn't meet their requirement in English or maths, what we would do is we would have a digital level 2 program so that they could resit their GCSE in English or maths, and continue to work in the digital area in readiness for a T-level the following year.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much. So we've got a question here about this person's obviously thinking about what they want to do after they've maybe done a T-level with us. Would they be able to put details of their placement, their work placement on an ECV or UCAS application that they put together?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that is essentially, you know, T-levels are building not just that knowledge and having that sort of slip of paper, which is the qualification that you have, but developing those you know, employability skills that we all know are so essential for progress into, for example, university, to be able to talk about at first interviews, and to really help you secure employment as well.
Great, thank you, Alex. So we know that obviously on average people would be spending 4 days a week with us in college and 1 day a week on their placement, and we would find that placement for our students who are studying the T-levels. What about if, would there be any support for people who need help with travel costs or things like that?
So as a college, we have a number of, for example, bursary and assistance and support functions. So yes, we provide that for all our students, irrespective of study program or type. Specifically for T-levels, we will also have what's called sort of transition funding, where those individuals are undertaking those large placements, and they could incur sort of significant costs associated, that we can also, as part of our bursary commitments to students, be able to support them with, for example, bus travel, or for example, lunch costs if they were on an employer's site.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Jackie, I don't know if you would know this one yet, but we've got a specific question here. So a vocational qualification for digital technologies, would creative iMedia count? I think we'd need to see what that specifically was, unless you know it.
I think you'd need to see what was involved in that. That would probably be one for you to discuss at interview. So I would say apply, and then due to the interviews, you will know if the content is going to be enough to be able to go alongside your. Obviously, you've still got to have the GCSE English language and maths, and you'd need to pass your qualification at least at merit level. That's something to talk to your interviewer about.
Fantastic. And so talking about interviews, do we know any idea of dates yet for when interviews are going to start, or what the kind of timelines are for things like that?
So Jackie mentioned earlier, they will now be in the new year. So I would say once we have the applications in, that triggers the entire recruitment cycle for individuals. So just by way of comparison, we had an open event last week and the week before. It was on a Saturday and then on a Wednesday, sorry. And basically when we have applications, that triggers a series of internal functions within the college. I will say that applications made now, the processing of them will probably mean that we don't have an interview date for the new year, but what we do is we inform students about every step of that process. So when we process the application, when their application is being sent to specific departments, and then obviously we'll communicate the interview dates, which are obviously mutually agreeable with the individuals, to make sure that we can meet.
Great. Just another question: is there an age limit for T-levels? Can adults study T-levels?
So unfortunately, the specific funding is for 16 to 19. That said, there are current reforms which are due to be published, which are lifelong learner loans. Now, at this point in time, we don't know the full detail of them. Those lifelong learner loans are to support people who want to retrain, reskill, and be able to access level 3. What we don't know at this point in time is whether that will specifically link to T-levels or other level 3 qualifications. So that's quite a specific one. I would say reach out to us, share your details with us internally. We can help you investigate that. But as it currently stands, no. But there may be sort of reforms in this area and additional funding, which we're expecting to come in the spring of 2021.
Fantastic. I think I'm just going to sum up now, because I think we've answered these last few questions, but I'm just going to give a summary, and obviously if Alex or Jackie think I've missed something, then please jump in. So you could see the kind of numbers that we were thinking that we're aiming to recruit for all the T-level courses we're offering. We would recommend that if this is something that you think you might be interested in, that you apply. If the grades, obviously you won't have your grades yet if you're in year 11, so that's nothing to worry about. That's just the normal cycle that we have every year for students who are applying to us. So please don't feel like you need to have any predicted grades before you start the application process. We'll explore that in more detail when you come in and actually talk to our tutors invited in for interview. We know that there's restrictions around actually getting students in on site at the moment. So we'd normally be having our open events live, where you could come on to site and have those face-to-face conversations with tutors. We do have an open event in January. You can register for that on our website, and you then will be able to have an opportunity to talk to tutors and live chat with us and find out more. So that's a really good way of doing that. We will offer places to everybody who applies to us, but as I said, we recommend that you get those applications in, and then we can start that conversation with you and make sure that you're on the right level and the right course for you. We want to make sure that you're not applying for something that wouldn't be right for you. So I think I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I think that I've covered off everything. Alex, do you feel like there's anything else we need to say?
No, thanks for those rich questions, really helpful, and obviously those things that you're thinking about, the chances are many others have similar questions, so yeah, really helpful. Hopefully look forward to seeing some of you at open events early in the new year. I still plan to be digital, but as we, like I said, progress into the spring, look forward to meeting some of you in person.
Thanks so much. Again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking your time to dial into this webinar. Thank you to Jackie and Alex for joining us as well. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Cheers.